We'll do the first round in 4 groups of round tables. So the first one will be each project will have a group of people answering its question. So one project, one group, and you're all from many disciplines. So for them, it's a 30-minute kind of clinic from a multidisciplinary design team saying, what do you think very quickly of what they have posed as their story and their challenge and their question. And then round 2 will reorganize the groups into bits of more of a mixture for a second set of small groups to see if we can come up with some general storylines or proposals that connect together what's happening to the city, the notion of the region as a bioregion, what sort of infrastructures, what sort of services do we need, connecting things together, i.e. people or places and so on that at the moment are separated. And so one of the kind of simple examples of this workshop is to bring together in one room people and activities that normally don't meet each other, ranging from bike freight to bioregions or food to infrastructure and so on. The basic idea is to kind of think in horizontal ways, to think about how small projects, when we connect them together in a smart way using smart ideas and smart tools, can be worth more as a unity than they are as parts. We need a new story which is not abstract, but is based on where we all live in different places, a story of place. And that's my starting point, and frankly, the ending point of our work today is reimagining what it means to develop our places, reconnects the urban to the rural. One of the bizarre things of most modern people is that they imagine that the food and water and air comes from somewhere else. And one of the fundamental reasons we have an environmental crisis is that nobody in cities thinks about at all where their food comes from or their water. Reconnects social issues and ecological issues. A project I did in France a few years ago where somebody said to me, people in Saint-Étienne don't care about the river. The river is not, the river is the Department of Water or the Department of Environment. And I said, are you sure that people don't care about the river? Could you just please check? So we sent a couple of young researchers, an artist and a designer, to spend 2 weeks walking up the river, looking just with their own eyes and hands to see what was happening at the river's edge with people doing projects. And they came back with 47 projects that they discovered in which people from the city were involved in repairing the river, growing things by the river, taking their children to the river, making maps of the river. In other words, a huge amount of social grassroots activity. We have to find clever ways to exchange energy and value between us. So think in terms of healthy relationships in which people exchange value to each other on a constant basis, social and ecological and economic. So the focus today is on what can we all bring to the table by way of activities or people or projects or places that are fantastic and have in that picture a potential, but at the moment are isolated on their own and not connected to each other. We are not here to imagine, as I said, an exotic project with piles of money to spend on green things. No, we're designing new economic relationships which are about place and economy and life helping each other. So this is this commoning word which we can come back to. Rethinking the city. What is happening here? So the 3 projects that you're going to hear from next were ones that I found out about in my capacity as a traveling story seeker. Every city has within it the elements of a radical different future, but they're very often invisible, and I'd be absolutely keen to know how many of you have heard of these 3 guys.
We try that people can move their things from A to B with a cargo bike without using a car, and we're providing the infrastructure for doing this. So we're doing this collectively, so we're legally an association, and we're doing this since about 6 years.
My name is Roman Molitor. I am the director of Comobil, in German Comobil. We are just a transport planning and transport technique engineering office working in the different field of transport with a special emphasis on sustainable transport, city planning, but also up to policy recommendations. To enhance, how to encourage commuters around Vienna to come by bike. Where can we catch the commuters? Imagine a catchment area around the city. An analysis on the slopes, on the looking at also on the western part of the city of Vienna, where we have the slopes of the Viennese wood. Of course, there's the catchment area not so large because you have to climb up 100, 200 meters from looking at the lowland areas on the eastern part of the city. So the body energy consumption is the real word. This was one of the approach. Then we looked at it, how far can we go with a normal bike and how far can we go with a pedelec?
The ecologists tell us that biodiversity in the cities is much higher than outside. So it's reasonable to regard the dense city as a type of nature, not longer as the opposite of nature, but to embed it into the complex context of nature. The city is very effective in retaining water, and it swallows fine particles, and it leads also to a conversion of CO2. It means in the end a commoning in making the neighborhood as a garden. It's a city of a human civil society of citizens living and working together in a highly shared economy.
There's one thing that's very important is to say, okay, the cities are nature, so I think it should be a very green city, but there are two other aspects too, I think, that relate to nature. The cities are communities. Okay, you have this center in the middle, the kind of, we called it microaxis. The microaxis is this kind where all these collective spaces, rooms are fixed.
So do you have a challenge, a question, or an opportunity that you would like some feedback from this group from?
No, I think the challenge is always how to convince people to do this. Yeah? How to convince developers to do this, how to convince people they go there to be part of a collective intensity.